Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. I'm Nick Park, and I'm taking us through a set of messages on Jesus in the Old Testament. We're looking at each book of the Old Testament and seeing how Jesus is there revealed to us if we only look for him. And Jesus is the theme of the entire Bible, Old and New Testament, and he's the key by which we understand the entire Bible. And we're now in the book of Job. The book of Job tries to deal with some of the basic questions that people have always asked. Where does evil come from? Why is there pain and suffering? Why would a good God, an all-powerful good God, create a world with pain and suffering? If he's all-powerful, then surely he could create a world that is totally good. And if he's good, then why would he create a world that has evil? Now, many people have asked these questions, and even the book of Job does not fully answer these questions. But what the book of Job does do is set up a stage for Jesus to provide the answers. And years ago, I stumbled across a little book by Dr. G. Campbell Morgan called The Answers of Jesus to Job. Now, basically, this was at a time in my life when I was asking some of these very basic questions. I was a new Christian. I was struggling to understand many things to do with the faith. I was at Bible college, and the Bible college I was at, they were buying a lot of new books that honestly didn't have a lot of answers, but they were getting rid of a lot of the old books. And so every day I'd go up to the library and there would be all these old books that they were getting rid of. And there were boxes of them, and I used to take them back to my study and built up this wonderful theological collection of books about the gospel. And that I've been buying books ever since, but that's where it really started for me. And I don't know how old this book is. It doesn't even have a date in it, which is very unusual. Usually a book at the front bit will tell you the date when it was published. But I do know that the first guy who owned it had written his name in here and the date he bought the book. And he bought the book on the 31st of March 1938. And here I am holding it in my hands today. And this wonderful book, The Answers of Jesus to Job, helped me to understand that Job was like setting up the stage for Jesus, asking the questions that everybody was asking and sort of leaving them hanging there so Jesus could come along in the New Testament and answer the questions of Job. And many people have said, well, if Satan afflicted Job, because God allowed Satan to afflict Job with all this suffering. And many people have said, well, if God allowed Satan to do that to Job, what if God allows Satan to do that to me? I really don't want that. But the wonderful truth that we have today in Jesus is that Satan's power cannot be loosed on us like it was loosed on Job, because it's already been loosed on Jesus. That Jesus came, and Jesus took all the power of Satan that had been directed at Job and way more besides. Every trick, every attack, every weapon that Satan had in his armory was brought against Jesus, and Jesus still triumphed over death and the grave and over sin and darkness. And so the reason why I can be confident that Satan will not be released to loose his power on me as he was with Job is because Jesus has already done that on my behalf. And Satan is now a defeated force, and we are protected under the covering of the blood of Jesus. And so there's one very basic question from Job that immediately Jesus provides the answer. And the book of Job, for thousands of years, people would have read that book and thought, well, it's dealing with some good questions, but it doesn't really answer them. And then Jesus comes along and he answers the question of suffering in the book of Job. God bless you today. Join us again tomorrow for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.